What's up, everybody? You have entered into the Shaping Your New Start Education Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Phil, too, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a podcast for everything and anything education. So we want to educate you today. We're talking about building healthy relationships, and I got a special guest here with me in the studio. However, before we go into that, I just want to introduce our sponsor. Our sponsor today is, that's right, Dr. Philip McGuire Wesley II, right? I want you to go to the website, www.drphil2.com/ebook. We want you to go get the ebook today. It is brand new off the press. It is a free ebook, everybody. So we want you to go to, and we're going to put this in the chat in a little bit so that you can directly go there. But it's a new book. We want to pour into the people that, support this. And we want to continue to let you know where you can go. So Dr. Phil 2/ebook and get your free copy of my brand new ebook. It's 6 ways to shape your new start. 6 ways to shape your new start. I'm telling you. And it's incredible because so many people need a new start. I always believe that everyone needs a new start. So we appreciate you for supporting this. Also, our brand is also supported by We Need More Clouds by Lynette Wesley, a book about blended families. We Need More Clouds. We want you to go to weneedmoreclouds.com. weneedmoreclouds.com and get the book. And it's also on Amazon. This is an Amazon bestseller. An Amazon bestseller, everybody. So make sure you go and support We Need More Clouds. We want to thank our sponsors for being here. So right after this, we're going to bring in our guests, and I can't wait to talk about how to build healthy relationships. Hey. All right. We want you. All right. Good. Welcome, Simene Walden. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phil, for the opportunity. I'm grateful, I'm appreciative, and I'm excited.
Awesome. We're going to need you to turn up your mic just a little bit. We want to hear everything you have to say. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. All right.
Is this better? Everything is going well. Like, I can't complain. Everything is going well. The Lord is kind. So that's my motto.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's awesome. Now, let's talk about where you're from and what inspired you to get into education.
So I am from North Carolina. It's a small town called Conway, North Carolina. It has about 767 people, literally one stoplight. And my mom instilled in me, just to go to school, get a good education. And from what I saw in my environment, most of the people around there is either you would stay there and work, and I didn't want to stay around there and work because it wasn't too much to do. And so in school, you know how sometimes they track you and put you in these classes. So I was kind of took like more high level classes. So most of my classmates were talking about college and scholarships. So I said, well, all right, well, let's do it. So I ended up getting a scholarship, go to Fayetteville State. And of course, you're away from home and it's like, wow, it's a whole new world. So um, I actually wanted to go to law school. So I got an English degree because I was like, I want to make a lot of money. And by the time 11th grade, 12th grade year, my senior year came in college, I was like, I need money. So I was like really poor. I was living in the projects in Fayetteville. They was offering students, they was trying to clean up the different projects there because it was kind of bad. So they was allowing college students to get, to put them in there. So I was living there and I was like, I don't like this at all. And so one of my friends was like, girl, they having a job fair. And I was like, okay. So I went and I had a resume, and Dr. Phil, they offered me a teaching position. I was like, I was more blown away that somebody wanted me to be their teacher. And I was like, oh snap. So
Wow.
yeah, I just apply on the whim. I had no intentions of being a teacher. And that first year I had such a great mentor. I had such a seasoned English language arts teacher, because that's what I taught, around me, who was so encouraged. They were so good. I was like, man, I want to be like these women. So that's how I got into education.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So now you go to this job fair, they offer you, where did you start? Like what position did you start with? What was your vibe starting?
I was shocked. Like I was just shocked. But I taught seventh grade reading. And so that was the only time I worked in Cumberland County and Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I was in the same county that I went to school with. So that's been the only county that I've ever worked in where they broke it up. And that's because seventh grade at that time did the writing test. So it was fifth grade, seventh grade, and I believe like 10th grade. So I was the reading teacher. I only taught reading. And then Erica Jones, I never forget her. Like I always think about her. Like there's some people you work with that you like, man, I wish I could stay connected. She's one of those ones. She was the writing teacher. So I came in as a seventh grade reading teacher, and at the time I had no idea what that lady was, but now I came to know she was a paraprofessional. So she would come into like two of my classes. She didn't really do too much, but she was just there for support for me. So that's how I started off.
Wow, that is amazing. So now you're teaching reading, this is a whole new environment for you. How was that first year for you?
It was really rewarding as far as the relationship piece. And that's why I'm so big on relationships, because it was those people around me that I met, that I
Hey,
talked to, that really, really helped me. Um,
yes.
and towards the middle, I never forget, I was at a professional development for new teachers because they had a strong new teachers um, system that they had in place. I had a mentor from the county. She was a retired teacher. And every month we would go to these professional developments all day. They would provide the substitute, and, you would go. And I remember one day, I got a call from my counselor, and they was like, you got a call? And I'm like, what? So I'm on the phone with her, and she was like, we need you to come back to the school. She's like, there's been an incident with one of my students. Name was Gable. Ooh, I feel like I'm gonna get teary. And she's like, there was an accident. So I'm leaving like, well, what the world's happening? So I get to school. I see all my teammates in I think it was maybe Erica's classroom. And she comes up, she's red in the face, she hugs me. He had got killed the night before because they was playing, I guess, called chicken. Him and his little brother was trying to run across the street to beat a car, and he didn't make it. And so that was like, it was so devastating, but it was so, because we worked really well together. And
Yeah.
after that, it kind of like brought us together even the more, even with the kids. It was like Man, so that was probably the most devastating thing that could happen. But having that support system in the school, it was so helpful for all of us.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. That is powerful. So this led you to believe that, your success came from building healthy relationships.
Mhm.
And educators, relationships in education is very important. Tell us why first, before you get into how we can build it. Tell us why relationships in education is important.
So I'm not sure, Dr. Phil, if you heard, and I like saying I'm on a talk show with Dr. Phil.
Well, I made sure I throw in the two so we don't get confused.
Dr. Phil number 2. So um, there's something called, and you may be familiar with it, but it's called social capital. And social capital is when you build those, healthy relationships. And it's studies been shown that when you have healthy relationships from just your family, just from infants, it helps build a healthier you. Then there came a thing about social emotional learning. I've always been on it. Before that was a big, big term. And one of
Right,
the 5 core values of social emotional learning is that relationship piece. And I know for me personally, it's been the relationship that has helped me on the bad days, on the good days when I didn't know certain things. Coming in as a new teacher, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I was just like,
right.
these people paying me, like, yo, like, let's do it. So having those relationships where they say, okay, Walden, this is thing you can do, or Walden, you're doing a really good job with that. That really helped me. And then because I had such good relationships my first year and my second year, I moved away my second year, but because I had such good relationships, it started to spiral over into my personal relationships that was a little strained.
Okay, okay. That's it. That's it. Getting that understanding there. So tell us, how can we start? I mean, what is the beginning of building a healthy relationship?
I would say the first thing, Dr. Phil, number 2, is that you got to have a healthy relationship with yourself. And I think in the midst of social media and being inundated with so many different things every day, that it's easy to compare and to be competitive. But when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, then that's going to help you. And a lot of times it comes through talking to other people, getting help, becoming accountable, and accountable not just for the good that you do, but also the accountability of the things that we don't do so good. And so first you got to start with a healthy relationship of yourself. And sometimes we can be the biggest critics of our own selves. I would say definitely give yourself grace and give yourself patience, especially for those of you who are new teachers, especially in the midst of what's going on now. I taught virtually last year, so I haven't actually been in the classroom of around pandemic stuff. So I know it could be very overwhelming. So give yourself grace, but also make sure that you have a healthy relationship with yourself. And I always tell people, like, right now, at least one thing every day, especially educators, you can look back and say, I'm proud of this. Even if it's only one thing, what's the one thing that you accomplished today? That way you don't feel so overwhelmed when somebody else got 50 things done and you only got one thing done. And your teacher next door on your team is, they don't have any classroom management issues, and you feel like the kids turning upside down. Like, I done been there and did all of that. So healthy relationship with yourself is, I would say, the first thing.
Yes, 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 indeed. Listen, that's that part of that social and emotional learning, right?
Yep.
That is definitely, self awareness and
Mhm.
self management,
Yep.
right? All in one.
Mhm.
I know
Yep.
they break it down, but those two go hand in hand: self awareness and self management, because that's critical when you're able to have a healthy relationship with yourself and yourself,
Yep.
and what you bring to the table. What your limits are. What your capacity is. We're trying to build healthy relationship, but have a healthy relationship with yourself. One of the best things is like when you know how to go to your place of peace, and how to really get into a space where you can be healthy. And we know we all go through trials, we go through tribulation, right?
Mhm.
We go through hard times,
Yep.
right? But when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, you're able to manage your way through. You're
Mhm.
able to get back, say, listen, I got to get back up again. I'm
Yep.
not going to let this thing take me out.
Yep.
I'm not going to let this thing destroy me. I'm going to get back up because I know I've got a greater power. So I've got to get back up and keep it going. So that's a great point right there.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And one thing that you mentioned about having that, that self awareness of going into that peace. One of the ways that I found peace in the midst of like chaos that went on in schools, like after several years where I had worked at different schools and I've been in different districts because I moved around quite a bit, like when I first started. And what I found out is that having peace sometimes means I can't necessarily rant to my coworkers and my colleagues about what's going on in school, because sometimes they'll go and they're gonna tell their friends by the time you get back to school, everybody knows. So I started finding people that was in education that wasn't in my building. A lot of them wasn't even in the same district that I was in. Because of course, when you go to these professional developments, you meet other people, and being able to say, this is what's going on in my school and get a non-biased opinion, that kept my peace. Because sometimes we hold stuff in and then we just go off and then people wonder like, what the heck is wrong with you? But it's
Yeah.
because I don't have anybody to kind of go empty this out or dump this out too. And so that's one of the ways that really kept me having peace when, there was things that I didn't understand, things I didn't like, times when I was offended, times when I felt like, maybe they didn't really like my teaching or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
Having that peace to go talk to somebody else was very helpful.
That's it. That's it. Absolutely. And there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors.
Amen.
You know? Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. How else can we build a healthy relationship?
One of the things I would say with, especially with educators, is that classroom management, it cannot be a fear tactic. A lot of times people want to control students, or even administration want to control, their teachers, or teachers want to control other teachers by fear. Fear does not allow people to feel safe, and fear, it does not present an opportunity where you're gonna even do your best, because you're so worried about whether they're gonna embarrass you or call you out, or if they gonna, what I'm saying, put you on blast, or go tell somebody, or go tell the next teacher, oh my God, you know what they did. So you cannot use fear as a way to think someone is going to have a relationship with you and that's going to trust you. They may do what you want them to do in the classroom at the time,
That's
but
right.
it's not building a healthy relationship. And there's something that I read and I said, and I kind of share. It's called a safe, stable, nurturing relationships, and that's because we create them without a fear tactic. So being able to actually lovingly care and be warm about the students that you like without fear. And a lot of times teachers who are full of fear, whether they believe they're not good enough, or they got to compete, or the job is on the line, or whatever the situation is, if they are full of fear, they project that off on the students. If the leader is full of fear, they project that off. So we have to avoid instilling fear into students or to the people that we're working with, because nobody will do their best if they're on edge like that.
Yeah, it seems like fear is that anti-relationship building tactic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily about where you don't command respect or you command a presence, but if you're constantly threatening, constantly shouting and screaming, it devoids that part of building relationship. Now you're building a relationship of fear versus respect,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they're two different things, and you don't necessarily have to have a fear tactic to build respect, but you definitely want that respect and you want that accountability, but you want to build that relationship in such a healthy way that they're not scared of you. They're not walking in just, hey, don't mess with that teacher. Now, you do have those teachers that you've grown up with, like, man, I ain't messing with that.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm just going to get in here and keep on moving. And it might work for some people. I ain't gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie, it may work for some people, but to build, if you're going to really build a healthy relationship, especially with your students, and really start to understand what they're going through, what they're dealing with from day to day, then having that healthy relationship, that healthy dialogue goes a long way.
It absolutely does. And it's Dr. Phil number 2. I love saying that. Yeah. So one of the things that helped me, and the reason why relationships are so I'm so passionate, is because even though I told you I had a really good relationship with my colleagues, when I started, I had so many insecurities about my own self. I was shocked every day that I was somebody's teacher. When I told you I stayed in the projects, one day when I was getting ready for work, I would always like leave a little early. One of my students that was in my class came out of her across the street. So now I'm in the projects with my students living, and I'm thinking, oh my God. So then I was feeling all kinds of ways about that. And so there were times where I wasn't the nicest teacher. There were times where I wasn't very compassionate and loving and caring. Like I was a very horrible teacher. And so over the years, and I learned like, Simene, this is not the way to have classroom management, because of course you go look at other people and sometimes you mocking what you think is good, but it wasn't good. And so I started to learn that I had to look at a student as a person versus
Yeah.
the title that they carry. Because when I came into the classroom, I was Miss Walden, the teacher. All they knew was teacher, 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 but they didn't realize that I'm a woman, I'm a person, I'm a human being outside of that. And so I
Yeah.
had to start taking an interest in the actual person. And one of the greatest ways, I was asked, well, how was your weekend? Or what did you do? Or, I would come in, we would always have conversations, what did you eat last night? And they would tell me, and I would hear and I would listen, and they would always tell me about who they stayed with. Or so I knew if it was grandma or mom or both and dad. And so one of the greatest ways I also built relationship with parents that I didn't necessarily meet was through their children. So when they would tell
Yes.
me about, well, we went here this weekend, oh, my mom bought me some shoes, and every day at the end of the day, I was like, all right, guys, tell your parents I said hello. And so a lot of those parents start knowing me through their children, because I wanted them to know, hey, I appreciate your parents too. Tell them I said hello. And that really like helped so much. And once they saw that I took an interest in who they were as people, I mean, I got all kinds of stories, Dr. Phil. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Of course, you can never go wrong with that. You
Mhm.
can never go wrong with that. Because you're not just building a relationship with the students, you're building a relationship with the parents.
Yep.
You're building that trust factor that, you just can't, nobody can deny at the end of the day.
Yep. Yep. And when you talk to them, when it's not just about calling because they did something, but
Yes.
really taking an interest in the parent, as a woman or a father as well. It was like, oh my God, thank you so much, Miss Water, for giving me a call. I'm gonna definitely be on it. So it was like a partnership that I created. Like you already know that if I call you, she's not gonna be happy. Okay, Miss Water, okay, okay. But it came through
That's
taking
right.
an interest in them and learning the things that they like, and even sharing with them, the commonalities that I had with them. Because at first, I used to think that, people say, don't smile until December. Why? I like to smile. So I didn't want to go that long without smiling at them. So I made them know I'm a real person too, and shared those commonalities with still having those boundaries and having that respect in place. So getting to know them as a person and showing them that you're a real person, that that goes a long way.
That's right. That's right. Being real, keeping it real, and they can sense that, hey, this person understands me. This person gets me.
Yeah.
And, then they open up and you get more traction out of it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about you for a little bit. You have now transitioned from education to where now?
To being a full-time speaker and presenter and trainer for schools.
Okay. All right. All right. Awesome. So you go in and do you do any professional developments as well?
Yep. So I do professional development. So my two main topics that I talk about is social emotional learning, predominantly focused on relationship skills, and trauma informed care, how to build relationships around any trauma that students or educators have went through. So those are my two big things that I do. So I do colleges, K-12, universities. I'm working with a nonprofit right now, with students who are in families of domestic violence, helping them work through trauma informed care. So those are the two. Those are the major areas that I go and talk to schools about.
Speaking about abuse and trauma, I was driving in front of a school the other day where I saw a father have his child in his hand, but him and his girlfriend or wife was beefing, like going at it. He put the child down so that he can raise his hand to hit his lady in the head
Wow.
right in front of the school, right
Wow.
in front of the school. So, I'm realizing, wow, these kids are dealing with this not only at home, but some of the parents aren't afraid to bring it to the school.
Mm-mm.
Bring it to the school. I want to make this point, as I have that thing, avoid fair tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's never okay.
Yep.
Never, ever okay for a man to hit a woman. I had to tell that to my Boys to Men group that I have every Monday.
Yeah.
said, listen, never, ever, 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 ever,
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
feel like it's okay to
Yeah.
hit a woman.
Yeah.
Just never. So, when you're talking about trauma and abuse and things like that, this is what, a lot of students are dealing with, unfortunately.
Yep, unfortunately. And Dr. Phil, when I was saying, like, sometimes they'll give you more than what you expect. So being an educator, you're a mandatory reporter. And so, I mean, they would start pouring things and sharing things. And I've had to report, several times on different incidents that they share with you, and you start to learn some of the traumas, some of the things that they got going on. And when you learn that from them, some things that maybe will bother another teacher that doesn't know, how to give grace, to an extent, that, okay, this person needs me to talk to them in a very calm way, even when they start getting all riled up because they're used to that, or it becomes a trigger for them where you start yelling at me, I'm gonna shut down, or I'm just go off. And so once you learn those things, you learn how to interact with all of them differently. And it's, it was very difficult at first because there's one teacher and 25 students per class or maybe more, and they all call you and they all need you. But once you start learning, it's almost like having a child. Maybe I'm not a natural parent, but my mom tells me that, she has to parent us all different, even though we're grown. So you kind of learn that when you start learning what these children are dealing with or what your coworkers are dealing with, you learn to be a little more lenient, and you learn to kind of, deal with them in a way that's going to be beneficial for not only them, but of course for you as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have, listen, build a healthy relationship with yourself. Have that healthy relationship with yourself. Avoid fear tactics. What's the third point we can establish here?
So the third point I would say is get to know the student or the educator as a person. Of course, we know we have to have the professional boundaries. And it's not to say we go to school, we looking for friends or looking for friends and educators, adult, but it's trying to find commonalities with people that'll make you understand and connect with them on a different level outside of academics. I found that some students may not be the most successful, if I could use that word, on paper, but they're very smart. And
Yeah,
so you won't know that unless you are finding commonalities with them. And some don't do well when it comes to paper and pencil or tests, but they are very, they're very sound in their thinking. But I had to get to know them as a person, know them as an educator, to know, okay, this is how I can reach them. And then you get more from them than just assuming that, everybody is one way and you teach them one way and you don't differentiate, you don't chunk, you just going at it. But getting to know them as a student and as a person, that goes a long way.
that's powerful. That's powerful. That's right. Get to know them as a person, okay? And, at the end of the day, we're people, we have flaws, we have failure, but we have learned how to get back up again. What have you learned? What have you learned from failure?
That is not permanent. Failure is not permanent. That, you learn, and as you fail, you learn something in the midst of that, and then you can pick yourself back up and take those things and say, you know what, this was yesterday, or this was last month, or this was even last year. Like, I know I felt like I had a lot of years of teaching that were not good, but I learned that it wasn't permanent. So failure is not permanent. So don't stay stuck in the past, but take all of those lessons that you learn, the heartaches, the critique, the criticism, the accomplishments, and the achievements, and use it to make better decisions, use it to make better choices to go forward so you can be prosperous in the things that you're currently doing and the things that you want to do.
That's right. That's right. Failure is not final, okay? So, that's what we learn. We learn that you're going to have some hard days. We learn you're going to have some crazy days, but at the end of the day, it's not forever. Every episode of Scandal has a premiere, and it also has this as what do you call it? A finale,
Yeah.
right? Every season of Scandal has a premiere and it has a finale. So failure is not permanent, it is not forever. But building a healthy relationship, guess what? If you have a healthy relationship with the right people, those people will help you get through the hardest time because you've already built a relationship.
Absolutely.
People will understand you because, hey, you know what? We have this healthy relationship. So thank you so much, Simene Walden. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. We just want to let everybody know we do have some sponsors. This sponsor is Dr. Stephen Bond. Dr. Stephen Bond has a book called Perseverance in a Strange Land. You can check it out on Amazon, written by Dr. Stephen Bond and also his students. He was also a guest here on the Shaping a New Start Education podcast. So check out his book today. He's the sponsor. And if you want to be a sponsor, please write me, hit me up on drphil2.com, drphil2.com, as you see the website right above me, and say, hey, I'd love to be a sponsor. I would love for you to go and download the free book, ebook, 6 Ways to Shape Your New Start, a guide for educators and students. We want to thank you. And you can also follow Simene Walden. This is her handle, all right, at Simene Walden, Walden. All right, this is for those who are listening in on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Apple Podcasts, or Google Play. We want you to go follow her and look at all the great advice she has about building healthy relationships. As you can see from her smile, she is always in a healthy situation. All right, as you can see, she is happy and ready to bring that positive energy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Phil. You know, real honestly, this is the joy of the Lord. January was very tough for me. I had two major losses in my life. And so this is really the joy of the Lord. I don't even know. I think it was the prompting of God to really say reach out to you yesterday because I hadn't been doing too much. But this what you see is really the joy of the Lord.
Wow, that's right. That's right. Listen, it will take you through the hardest times. It will take you through some tough times. So thank you, everybody. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Shaping Your New Start. Follow me on Instagram at Dr. Phil _2 or Twitter, Dr. Phil 2 _. And you can follow more great content. Book me at drphil2.com for speaking engagements. And once again, you can follow Simene Walden. Just put in Simene Walden into your Instagram, Twitter, and you will find her and follow her right there. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest on the Shaping Your New Start Education podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phil. God bless you and more blessings to you as you continue to do what you're doing in education and beyond for us as educators and speakers.
Thank you so much. And as every week, everybody, go out there and shape your new start.